The following program is a presentation of the Civil War Broadcasting Network, available on the free YouTube channel General Grant by Himself or Dr. E.C. Fields, on the Facebook page Kurt Fields as General Ulysses S. Grant, and on various other social media. The website is generalgrantbyhimself.com. This program is one of those presentations in the ongoing series General Grant Looks at the American Civil War, wherein General Grant looks at a person, place, or event in the Civil War for reflection and observation. Permission to copy and distribute is given and indeed is encouraged. Remember, you are the future of our past. And now, part three of the siege and surrender of Vicksburg. Part three, the aftermath. I am Major General Ulysses S. Grant, and you find me here in my tent in the field near Vicksburg. And I should like to reflect with you a bit about what happened after the siege and then the subsequent surrender of Vicksburg. Immediately after the surrender, Carter Littlepage Stevenson, who was one of General Pemberton's commanding officers, wrote this about the surrender at Vicksburg. I cannot find words sufficiently strong to express the pride and gratitude afforded me by the dauntless spirit with which officers and men encountered all the dangers, and by the unmurmuring endurance with which they bore up for 47 sleepless days and nights under all the hardships incident to their position. Confined without a moment's relief from the very moment of their entrance into the fortifications of the city to the narrow trenches, exposed without shelter to the broiling sun and drenching rains, subsisting on rations barely sufficient for the support of life, engaged from the earliest dawn till dark, and often during the night in one ceaseless conflict with the enemy. They neither faltered nor complained, but ever looking forward with confidence to relief, bore up bravely under every privation, saw their ranks decimated by disease and the missiles of the enemy, with the fortitude that adorns the soldier and the spirit that becomes the patriot who battles in a holy cause. General Page was very eloquent in his description of the Confederate soldier, and I thought it worth repeating. The same day that Vicksburg was surrendered, Pemberton surrendered, I went down to the river and congratulated Admiral David Dixon Porter on the Navy participation and hearty support that they gave the Army that indeed enabled us to win the victory at Vicksburg. And Admiral Porter sent me this brief note. He's not a man of many words. General Grant, I congratulate you in getting Vicksburg on any honorable terms. I think he said that because he knew I was a bit chagrined over the conditions that I had allowed rather than require an unconditional surrender. So that's why I think he said, I congratulate you in getting Vicksburg on any honorable terms. You would find it troublesome or a troublesome job to transport so many men, and I think that you will be left so free to act it will counterbalance any little concession you may seem to make to the garrison. And I appreciated that from the Admiral. He's a good man, and the Navy gave me hearty support at every turn, and I know of no request ever made of any officer from the Admiral himself on down to the lowest seaman on the deck that was not promptly and cheerfully complied with. I give the Navy many thanks and credit for our victory at Vicksburg. All was not well exactly, though. There had been some controversy over officers in the Confederate Army wanting to take their servants with them, and I didn't know if their servants might not be slaves being held against their will. And there was a question of what to do with all the freedmen now in Vicksburg since it had surrendered and we had freed all of them. And the question had been raised to General Pemberton by an officer we denied him taking his body servant with him, and he said he's not a slave. We were raised together, and not letting us take our servants would be like separating family, their contention. Also, what to do with all of the freed blacks now that were in Vicksburg, what to do with them, and how to keep them from getting in trouble, gainfully employed, for the first time getting paid for work they did. So McPherson brought the issue to me, and I sent him this letter on July the 5th of 63, Major General J.B. McPherson, commanding 17th Corps. General, no enlistments of the Negroes captured in Vicksburg will be allowed for the present. Remember now that President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on the 1st of this year, January 1 of 63, and the enabling acts had been passed, and it was now possible for freed Negroes to become United States soldiers. But I told McPherson, no enlistments of Negroes captured in Vicksburg will be allowed for the present. We had to settle things down and be sure who was who. All the male Negroes we want collected and organized into working parties for the purpose of policing the grounds around the city, unloading steamers, and fitting up the fortifications for our use. In regard to rebel officers taking their servants with them, that is one of the conditions I expressly refused them. After the city was surrendered, however, one of the officers on General Pemberton's staff asked me what I was going to do about servants who were anxious to accompany their masters, remarking that many of them had been raised with their servants, and it was like severing families to part them. I remarked that no compulsory measures would be used to hold Negroes. I want the Negroes all to understand that they are free men. If they are then anxious to go with their masters, I do not see the necessity of preventing it. Some going might benefit our cause by spreading disaffection among the Negroes at a distance by telling them the Yankees set them all free. It is not necessary that you should give yourself any trouble about Negroes being enticed away from officers. Everyone who loses a Negro will insist that he has been enticed off because otherwise his Negro would not leave. As I said before, it was positively refused that the privilege of carrying off private servants should be granted. Because I said afterwards coercion would not be used to retain servants, it is no reason that the strength of the garrison should be used in preserving a neutrality between our men and Negroes that would enable the Confederate officers to carry off their Negroes by force. And I hope that settles the matter for the moment until we get some clarification from the president of Washington City as to how to fairly treat the freed Negroes now, and indeed to ensure their welfare. And then on July the 7th, I got this telegram from my superior officer, Major General Henry W. Hallock. Washington, D.C., July 7th, 1863. Major General Grant, near Vicksburg, Mississippi. It gives me great pleasure to inform you that you have been appointed to Major General in the regular Army, to rank from July 4th, the date of your capture of Vicksburg. H. W. Hallock, General-in-Chief. So as of July the 4th of 1863, I am now a Major General in the regular Army. I was a Major General of volunteers. My uniform has not changed. I still wear the 2-star shoulder straps, but my rank has changed from that of Major General of volunteers to Major General regular Army, and I am very pleased. That is all I shall say about the siege and the surrender of Vicksburg. I feel I've said quite enough and adequately covered the topic. To say more would get into what our campaign became after Vicksburg and where I went next and what I did next. But that is for another reflection at a future time. I'm grateful for your kind attention and hope that you see fit to join me again as I reflect in General Grant looks at the American Civil War. I thank you with fond affection, your attendance, and your support. I must be about my business. I suggest you be about yours. Good day.